Hey guys, Mark Daniels Jr. here. Just finishing up the second FLW tour stop here on Lewis Smith Lake in northern Alabama. I'm gonna do a recap for you guys, give you some insight on what I was doing, areas I was fishing, and just kind of go through my couple of days. Day one, I ended up weighing 14 pounds. I had a really good start to this tournament, and then just finished up weighing right now, and I'm not even sure where I'm sitting. I only had 8 pounds a day. Things got really tough on me. Cold front came in overnight, and the bite just got really tight. Had a couple good ones get off, but that's just fishing and that's part of it. So can't really cry about that. But let's talk about techniques and areas of the lake that I was concentrating on and what I was doing. I primarily fished in Ryan Creek, which is a massive creek here on Lewis Smith. I mean, it probably runs for 30 or 40 miles. I'm not even sure how long it goes. You can go all the way in the back. The water starts to stain up a little bit. You can start targeting largemouth. But I actually fished for spotted bass in this particular event on the lower end of Ryan Creek, and targeting docks, floating docks that had a lot of shade when the sun would get up. And I had a couple primary techniques. So I'll start off with my number one technique was a swim bait, and I was alternating between, this is a Missile Baits Shockwave, the 3.5, and Fishalicious. This is an awesome bait in clear water, and I have it on about an 1/8 ounce head. And it's key to have this 1/8 ounce head because I could skip this bait up underneath docks really, really far into that shade. And that's where those fish were sitting. And then I would slow roll this back on spinning tackle. I would slow roll this back, and I was getting some really good spotted bass that were suspended under the docks to come up and get this. I also threw a Kitech with the same exact setup. I'm throwing this on a 7-foot Kistler Helium 3 medium action spinning rod. I got 15-pound Seaguar Smackdown braid, and I'm tying a modified Albright to an 8-pound Seaguar Tatsu leader, and I'm putting about 10 foot of that on there. And a lot of guys hit me up and they ask me, Mark, why do you do the braid to the fluoro? Like, what's the whole deal with that? For me personally, I like having the power of the braid. When you make a really, really long cast and that fish bites long ways out, when you set the hook, you got him. That braid has no stretch, and it allows you to penetrate that hook really quickly as those fish are swimming towards the boat, and that's key for me. And then, of course, the fluorocarbon, 8-pound line, you got the stealthiness with the light line. And of course, light line's key to getting strikes. And so that was my setup for my swim bait. As the day progressed, the wind would kind of taper down, it would slick off, and then I would do a similar technique, but then I would skip a Cinco. And this is no secret, this is nothing special. This is a Gary Yamamoto Cinco, 5-inch in natural shad. Got an O-ring on there. There's no weight in this. This is wacky rig. And I'm skipping that under docks on slack line and just letting it free float down. And then all of a sudden you see that line jerk and start taking off kind of fast, and you know one's took it. And I caught 2 really good ones on day one doing that. And this is just a great technique anytime you're fishing for suspended fish in shade. Another technique that I was using was a shaky head. Once again, nothing special here, just really basic. A lot of these spotted bass that weren't suspended under docks were actually spawning. And so I would throw this on long tapering graveling points where I thought these spotted bass would be spawning, and I would drag this around anywhere from 10 to 30 foot of water. And this is a 1/4 ounce Missiles Bait Warlock head and green pumpkin, and I'm throwing a Zoom swamp crawler and or a Zoom trick worm. That was my 2 baits that I put on the shaky head. They both caught fish pretty much equally. It did much better for me in practice than in a tournament, but hey, that's fishing too, but it was definitely on the deck, and I caught some key fish this week doing it. Let's talk reaction. In between the skipping on the docks, the throwing a shaky head, there would be schooling fish out suspended and over 150 foot out in the middle of the channel. And you would just see them busting bait all of a sudden out of nowhere. And so I'd throw my trolling motor on high, hightail it over there, and I had a 1-2 combo that I would do when I rolled up over there. One of the baits was very popular jerk bait, not only here in Alabama, out west, anywhere you got clear water conditions. It's a Mega Bass Vision 110. You gotta have these. Awesome, awesome jerk bait right here. I'm throwing this on a Kistler 7-foot KLX. This is the crank rip and twitch model. Awesome for throwing a jerk bait, small crank baits, and small top waters. 12-pound Seaguar Tatsu on my jerk bait. long cast into those schooling fish, and you ignite that school up, and you can keep them up in the higher level of the water column for about 30 seconds to a minute, and you can pluck 2 or 3 fish out of it. And the second part to that combination was a topwater bait. This is a Repo Man by Paycheck Baits. Great walking style bait, and it mimics the shad that they're eating this lake really well. And so when I would see those fish busting out in the middle, I'll hightail it over there. I would either cast this or the jerk bait, one of the two, whichever I can grab fastest, really. Fire it out there, and I get a couple bites on that, and that also caught a couple key fish on day 1. Last but not least, as I was going down the bank fishing for these spotted bass, all of a sudden you would have these little indentions in the bank, or pockets we call them. And there would be some brush in those pockets, and sometimes you would have a little creek in the back, causing some turbulence in that water, staining it up a little bit. And that's where the largemouth like to live. And I caught 2 key largemouth on day 1. And this is, again, a Gary Yamamoto's 5-inch Cinco. This one I'm throwing a little 1/4 ounce Eco Pro tungsten weight on it. And I got a 3-aught X-Point hook, green pumpkin. Pitching this around flooded brush, jams, bark, floating bark, anything along those lines, that'll get you a couple of bites. Rod selection here, Kistler Helium 3, 7'4", medium heavy action, 15-pound Seaguar Tatsu, 7-in-1 Shimano Core reel. Anytime I'm fishing, flipping, or things like that, once again, high-speed reel. You get bit, you need them out of that cover right away and in the boat. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this recap. That's what I did this week, and we'll see where it ends me up. Nevertheless, I should get some good points moving forward to the Forest Wood Cup. You guys take care. I'm Mark Daniels Jr. I'll see you on the water. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and you better be watching Circuit Breaker this year. The first episode should be airing come mid-April. You guys stay tuned.